into starting last week, and it's hard to start the season in the conference with a loss. I mean, it's hard to start it that way with everything that you talk about and goals and what you have. But it's also very early in the year. I mean, with it being the second game of the year, we have just begun to kind of really identify and formulate who we're going to be as a football team in 2015. And there were a lot of positive things in this game, but there are definitely some things that we have to improve on as a football team. You know, it was difficult. You're playing a really good football team on the road on a short week. When they've had a full week of preparation and you've got a short week going into that game, with some of the injuries we had up front, having to move on a short week, having to move our guard to center and start a true freshman at left guard, there were definitely some things that maybe showed up a little bit in this football game. But I think, as a lot has been written and said about, it was very uncharacteristic of our defense to give up the yards they did, especially with the number of guys that are returning. And I think the biggest thing you look at was really the big plays that Western Kentucky was able to capitalize on. They had, I think it was 11 plays for 321 yards of their offense with the big plays, and a lot of those came in man coverage. And I give them an awful lot of credit for executing and the scheme they put together. And they got some one-on-one matchups, and they were able to hit it. But I thought our defense rallied back in the second half and played a much better second half. They kind of settled down a little bit. They got on their heels and played. I don't want to say tentative, but it seemed like we were playing a little bit on our heels in the secondary. But then in the second half, it was kind of like they got their stinger back a little bit and started coming back and played much better in the second half. I thought, obviously the special team woes are a concern. That's 2 touchdowns we've given up with our kickoff team in 2 games. I think we're doing a much better job of punting the ball, as Schaus is, and I think Barnes is doing a very good job of kicking the ball, which were 2 Achilles heels for us a year ago. But now what we've got to do, we got to really shore up the cover game with everything on that. And then just the consistency in the offensive line. A lot of people have asked about the beginning of the game, which was a really slow start, but they came out and something totally different, as they have kind of been a load the box, man coverage football team. Ever since our game from a year ago, and came into our game dropping 8, playing coverage, taking underneath throws, a lot of the ball control passing game away. And then with the different front, with a new center who was identifying it wrong, it just took us a while to kind of get him settled down, show him what they were doing, and be able to cover it. And once we were able to do that, I thought we were able to get some things moving along pretty well. But even with the big plays we gave up on defense, even with some of the woes in the kicking game and the slow start with the offense, the bottom line, we were 1 stop or 1 score away from winning that game. And I think that bodes just huge for the competitiveness of this team and also the leadership of this team. When you look at guys like Bo Feet and Nick Thomason and Kentrell Bryce and Vernon Butler and Dora and a lot of the upperclassmen that we have, and the way that they were to rally, back and compete. As one of the players brought up in the last year and a half, or since the beginning of last season, outside of Oklahoma and Auburn, that's the first game that we've been behind. I mean, in our 3 losses outside of Oklahoma and Auburn last year, every one of them was we had the lead until late in the game. And that was the first time we had to come from behind. And I thought they rolled their sleeves up. They got better. Nobody threw in the towel. They didn't hang their head. We got better as that game went on. And I was really proud of the way that they competed. Offensively, I think 4 guys just were, I thought were incredible competitors in that football game. And I thought Jeff Driscoll, the way his composure, the way he hung in there, the decisions that he made, the way he protected the ball, the way Paul Turner, Trent Taylor, and Kenneth Dixon competed was fun to watch. I mean, it was really fun to have the opportunity to see them go out and play and compete the way they did. I know they were tired that early in the season. They all played too many plays. But when you talk about your lack of depth as a football team, it is something that we as coaches are going to have to force ourselves to play more players. We can't play those 4 guys in the secondary 78, 79 plays. You can't do that against a team that's throwing the ball deep and rolling receivers on you as much as they were without those guys getting a little bit gassed early in the season. So we've got to play some more people. We got to roll some more people in the secondary and at the wide receiver positions. But I was really proud of the way those guys competed, as well as some of the leadership on defense and the way they bounced back against that football team. It was a good college football game. It's just unfortunate we came up a little bit short. And then you come into this week. I think the weekend added some much-needed rest for this football team to come right out of camp, go into your opening game, and then go into a short week against a conference foe was a tough challenge. And I think right now what was most important this weekend is to get these players away on Saturday, get your mind off it, relax a little bit, get away from football, and then come back here Sunday ready to work. And I felt like they did that. This is a very proud football team. We understand it's early in the year, and if anything, I think we've got to roll our sleeves up, and we just got to keep getting better. We started the season last year, I believe it was 2-3, before really the thing took hold, and we really started to see some of the growth of our football team. And so hopefully we can make some huge strides as we go forward. It doesn't get any easier. With Kansas State this weekend. Kansas State is a very good football team, incredible respect for Coach Snyder and the job that he does. This football team over the last 4 years has won more Big 12 games than any other team in the Big 12. They have been incredibly successful when you look at the way they beat Oklahoma, Texas, Oklahoma State, and some of the wins that they have in that league. I think this is a very good football team. They've got a lot of returning starters on this team. When you look at them on offense, they've got 4 of their 5 offensive linemen return. I believe they have 83 starts amongst their offensive line. I think we probably have about 8. And so when you look at it, there's a pretty big, there's an awful lot of experience on their offensive line. They're big, they're strong. They do a great job of controlling the line of scrimmage. They're very fundamentally sound, and I think that is one of the strengths of this football team. They have very good running backs. They play an awful lot of them. They do it by committee. They have very good receivers, and they have a quarterback who started his first game as a quarterback last week, but he's a fifth-year senior. He's a really good athlete. They run him, which gives you some problems as a defensive football team with the running quarterback. But I think he's going to protect the ball. He's going to make good decisions, and he's very solid. If I were to describe their offense, I would say it doesn't have a lot of sizzle, but it's got an awful lot of substance. They are not about throwing it all over the yard and going quick and just scoring a bunch of points. They're just really good at what they do, and they're very fundamentally sound. And then when you look at them on defense, they've won their 2 games, 30-3 and 34-0 have been their 2 wins. They have not given up a touchdown. The only thing they've given up as a defense is a 51-yard field goal. When you look at them defensively, I believe right now they are ranked 1 against the score, 8 against the rush, and 16 in total defense. They've really got a good defensive football team, and I would say the same thing. It's not about looks and pressures and blitzes and guys coming from everywhere. They keep the ball in front of you. They stay square. Their defensive line is very big, strong, and very fundamentally sound. They use their hands incredibly well. Their linebackers are very active in their scheme and what they do, and they've got a couple all Big 12 players in the back end with their corner and their strong safety. So I think they do some really good things. They make it very difficult to move the ball against them. And with their strength being their D-line and our question mark on offense being our offensive line, it's going to be a great challenge for us as a football team this week. But we're ready to get back out on the field. I mean, we're really ready to get back out on the field, but it is going to be a great challenge for us playing, again, on the road against a Big 12 team that is really solid in what they do. Their special teams is special. As fundamental and well coached as they are in their offense and defense, they are as well coached in their special teams, and they've got a kickoff return guy that's averaging 57 yards a kickoff return. So I am sure he is licking his chops after watching the film from us over the last 2 weeks. And again, it'll be another great challenge for us as a special teams as well. So what questions could I answer for anybody?
How concerned are you with the defense after allowing almost 600 total yards?
Like I said, when you look at it, I mean, they gave up 321 yards in big plays, and I think, as I said, most of that came in man coverage, and they did a great job. They, being Western Kentucky, did a great job. I think you certainly can't sweep it under the rug and say it's nothing, but at the same point in time, I know this is a very proud group over there, a lot of guys that have played a lot of football, and very uncharacteristic of the way they've played. I think if we had to go back and do all over again, we probably should have mixed some things up a little bit more on defense like we did in the second half. We started early. In a little bit, we were much more one-dimensional early, and I think as a six-year quarterback, he took advantage of it. I thought we started mixing things up a lot better in the second half, and we did a much better job. So I don't want to sweep it under the rug and say it was nothing. It's something we definitely got to look at and correct some things. But I think the players are also taking a huge part of ownership, and that there's some things that we can do to improve. There's some things that weren't, that didn't have anything to do with what they did. You know, we always say that we can control us, and we could have played much better than we did Saturday, and they were able to capitalize on our mistakes last week.
Were you impressed with how Blake Baker made his adjustments at halftime? Came out ready to go?
Yeah, I thought, you know, we played much better in the second half, obviously, and I think, I mean, in that game, if we would have just played a quarter shell, you know, a four-deep shell, and not let the ball behind us, we would have been much better off and given Vern Butler and Dora and those guys an opportunity. But we felt like we had some experience in our back end, and we put a little bit more of the weight on them, thinking that they were going to come in and try and run the ball and control it a little bit more. And you know, where we have an awful lot of experience, where we tried to kind of hang our hat or put our saddle on. And in the second half, I thought, as we made the adjustments, I thought did a really nice job of starting to mix it up much more, so they didn't know when we were kind of putting our saddle on the back end or on the front end. I thought that Blake did a nice job with that.
Kenneth had a great game, but you mentioned getting some depth. Was it by design that he was the only one to get carries this past week?
No, it wasn't by design. It was really Blake Martin broke his hand last week and had a cast on his hand and was able to play a little bit in special teams. And Jared Kraft in the first quarter broke his hand and had broke his thumb, and so had a cast put on it. So we've got both your second and third tailbacks aren't ball carriers right now, and so Boston Scott had an opportunity to step up. I mean, he went into that game as the fourth-team tailback, and all of a sudden in the second quarter, he's the second guy in the game and playing, and it's going to make Jaquise Dancy grow up that much faster. There's a reason that we pulled the red shirt off of him. We think he's a very talented player, and I think by the time we get to the middle of the season and really get into conference play, he's a guy that needs to be a very valuable contributor for our football team. But I don't know that he's ready for that atmosphere in that arena today. But I think this is going to force his hand a little bit with some of the injuries. So that was one of the reasons that Kenneth played the number of plays that he played. And Kenneth is such a competitor, he didn't want to come out. I mean, every time it was like, I'd say to Coach Jaluk, it's like, Kenneth, he's breathing, get him out. You know, and Boston had run out, and he'd go, "What are you doing?" "No, I'm good." And he'd go running right back in on the next play. He wants to play, and that's why I said that we've got some guys that are incredible competitors, and we've got some skill guys that are really impressive right now. They impressed me with the way they played. And I think, you know, as Carlos Henderson gets back into practice, he missed 3 weeks of practice, and I think as he gets back into practice and knocks some of the rust off a little bit from not practicing for 3 weeks, I think he's going to be another weapon that has an opportunity to play a bigger role than he did Thursday.
Will Blake and Jared be out for Saturday?
No, they'll both be able to play, but they're going to be very limited as ball carriers. One's got to carry it right, one's got to carry it left, so they can carry the ball in the proper arm.
Coach, I saw a ridiculous stat how good they are when they score first. So obviously they like coming out and punching teams in the face early, and it's important not to fall behind in a big place like that.
Yeah.
So I know that's something you want to do is withstand that early rush.
Well, and they, like I said, they're so good fundamentally, and I say that when you look at them, they're playing with a lot of fifth-year seniors, fourth-year juniors, guys that have been in that program. They've redshirted, they've brought them along, and they have an awful lot of experience, an awful lot of maturity, and they got some guys that are really doing some good things. But when you can control the line of scrimmage, it is a huge advantage for your football team on both offense and defense. And it's something that obviously we've got to have a running game. Kenneth has got to be part of what we do as an offensive football team, but they make it very difficult. But we certainly aren't going to be able to come out with a slow start like we had Saturday, where you fall behind the way we did and have to fight from behind. Because this is a really solid football team, and we can't give up the big plays. There's a lot of corrections that we got to make from last week.
The bumps and the bruises at running back, you got some clear ones on offensive line. How do you expect them to be? Will they be ready for this Saturday?
Hopefully Brunson started running a little bit more last night and started looked pretty good. I feel confident that he has a chance to be back. I think Cam Manning's got a chance to be back. We're looking at some of that. I don't know with Kirby. I mean, it's kind of a day-to-day thing with Kirby. We really got to figure out what's going on. But hopefully, if we at least we can get Brunson and Cam Manning back, it'll help create a little bit more of the depth for us as a football team. But I thought O'Shea Dugas went in and really did a nice job outside of the different front and being a little bit confused early. I thought he did a really nice job. He's shown that he's going to be a really good player as he continues to get this kind of forced into action. But as he gets this experience, I think it's really going to help him down the road.
You got a redshirt freshman in Shane Carpenter at right tackle, but you're also rolling Jens Danielson in at times. Is that just because Jens is such a seasoned veteran and giving Carpenter a chance to catch his breath and see what's going on out there?
Yeah, and I think Jens is doing some good things and deserves to play. The way that Shane Carpenter got that spot was Jens got injured during camp and missed about 8 days, and I thought Shane did a really nice job. And now that Jens is full speed and Jens is healthy and he's getting some reps, it's a week-to-week competition going on over there, and I think Jens is really playing well. I think he's having an opportunity to go home. He'll probably start at tackle this week. When you look at the way that he played Saturday, he deserves that. He's earned that. But that's what we've talked about in trying to create some competition, and I think we have that going at tackle right now. But with all the injuries, thought we had it going at center and guard a little bit, but with all the injuries that we've had, it's kind of made us move some things around, and we're a little bit thin inside. But I feel like both those guys are really doing a nice job.
On special teams, it seems on the kick return, it seems like some of it's tackling, some of it's maybe execution of where everybody's going. How do you shore up tackling, and then obviously you got to make sure everybody's going the right place.
We've got to do a better job as coaches. I mean, we have to do a better job as coaches with what we're doing and how we're trying to teach it. And you're trying to take we put a lot of starters on the special teams, but in the first 2 series, our defense was out there so much with our offense going 3 and out to start the game and them having the long drive that on the third kickoff, they took a lot of the starters off to take a breather, and that was the one that went back to the house. And you look, and like I said, there's Jaquise Dancy, a true freshman. There's a couple of young guys that are out there on that kickoff team. That doesn't mean they're not good players. I mean, they still have to hold the same standard to what we're trying to do, and I think we've got to do a better job of teaching it and coaching it and what we're trying to get done. I think some of it can definitely be corrected. Some of the mistakes can definitely be corrected, and we've kind of had some long meetings on that as a staff to try and see what we can do to fix it, but we've got to do a better job. We have to do a better job with our kickoff team.
You used the term Thursday, usually again now today. What do you mean by they took who off?
The
kickoff team.
The guy that runs the special teams and the guy that runs the kickoff team. Both of them do Vance, Ronnie Bradford and Carl Scott. The special teams coordinator and the guy that runs the kickoff team are both defensive coaches. Those guys were gassed. They asked, like, Coach, can I have a breather? Those coaches involved in that aspect of it, said, yeah, we'll put in your backup. And they put their backup in.
Was there miscommunication then between you and them? Or?
No, I was not informed because I was down there being with the offense, and we were talking about what they were doing and how we were trying to do it. And the offense came off the field, and I was over there talking to the offensive guys. When I turned back around, that was when they were out on the field kicking the ball off.
So what's your plan going forward? You're going to have a lot of starters like you did the third time, I believe, after the touchdown. You put the starters on.
Well, the starters were on the first 2.
Great.
The starters were on the first 2 as well.
They went back on
And then Exactly. Because I said to them, I said, if we've got to go to Xavier Woods and Kentrell Bryce and Bo Feet and say, in order for us to win, you need to cover kickoffs, they'll do it. I said, I just think that they were, with the way that the game started, with them having a long drive and then the offense going 3 and out and then them having another long drive, I think they were looking to catch their breath because they knew it was going to be a long day on defense and they were going to play a lot of plays.
Coach Snyder's going into the Hall of Fame this year. Just kind of talk about what he's done with that program.
Unbelievable. I mean, we talked about it. I mean, we are going to play at a place that I believe the field is named after him, which is going to be kind of unique to stand on the field with him standing across from you. And I think he's done a phenomenal job, obviously, of building that program. He's had a career there. I don't remember him anyplace else. I mean, when you look, and he was there and then left and then came back and rebuilt it again. I think he does a great job fundamentally with his football team. I think he wins with execution, not with scheme and not just with talent. Because you look at year after year, they just keep plugging in different faces and different names, but they keep winning. And when you look at what Kansas State was when he first went there and what it is today, to be able to sit here and say they've won more games than any other team in the Big 12 over the last 4 years, I think is an unbelievable testament to him and the job that he's done building that program. I think there have been assistant coaches come and go, there have been players come and go, but yet the one thing that has stayed constant is when he is there, they have won. And I think he's an unbelievable football coach, and he's done an unbelievable job.
What do you think this defense is more comfortable with? You play a team, Western Kentucky predominantly spreading it out. Kansas State, they're using their quarterback to run a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is a better matchup? Do you expect a better matchup this weekend, or is that not a favorable matchup?
No, I didn't mind the matchup last week. You know, I mean, I'd say that. I think Western Kentucky's a really good football team, but when I look at our defense and the things that we've done, we have had success against spread teams in the past. But when I look at this one, I mean, it's going to be a challenge up front because of the experience they have on the offensive line and the different challenges this week than we had last week because of the running quarterback. Having the running quarterback almost gives you the ability to run a 4 wide out offense with 2 backs in the backfield. I mean, because you have a lead back and a tailback in the quarterback. So it presents some problems, some number problems for you when you're putting together your defensive game plan. But I think, it's going to be the challenge this week. It's going to be for the Vernon Butlers and the Doras and the Cantys, and having Aaron Brown back will definitely help. But it's going to come more on the front 7 than the pressure that was on the secondary last week.
Were you
running quarterback though, right? Last year you played Auburn. It was more like east-west. This is like a north-south running.
Yes, exactly. This is him running called runs, with him running north, not just the zone reads, but him running called runs up in between the tackles where they can run gap scheme, double teams, and things like that because of the extra guy with the tailback being the lead blocker. Definitely different than Auburn.
Were you disappointed in any of the defensive groups Saturday, early on, maybe the secondary or the defensive line? I
didn't feel like our secondary played the way that they're capable of playing. That's why I said a minute ago I felt like they played a little bit on their heels. They did not play with the confidence that they have been playing with, and with all those guys coming back, we gave up a couple plays early in man coverage, and it seemed like we made a couple mistakes from there that are very uncharacteristic of us in the back end. And it just goes to show you it doesn't matter who's coming back, doesn't matter how much experience you have, you still got to go out and play the game, and you better be focused and you better play the game on edge. But we did not execute as well as we can. Now, I thought as the game went on, they certainly got better and better. They got better and better as the game went on and calmed down. And thankfully, with experience, it gave us the opportunity to come back a little bit in that football game, at least make it competitive.
With that experience you have in the back end on the defensive side, what's this past week been like? I mean, have they been? Our last few days, not really a week.
They're a proud group. I mean, we'll get it straight. They're a proud group. They want to be good. They understand we made some mistakes and we've got to get them corrected and we've got to grow from it. But they certainly aren't proud of the performance they just put out there on the field. When you look at There were two very explosive offensive teams out there on the field Saturday, and our defense felt like they could have played much better than they did.
Ask it another way.
Okay?
With Cantrell and Xavier are known to be film guys, film junkies. What have they been like with in the film room?
Well, I mean, and I think this, you know, the attitude of all of them is, what do we got to do to get it straight? And if it means we got to come in, we got to watch more film. I think it was, as much as anything, a focus. I mean, Darius Barnes gave up a deep ball in man coverage, who's one of our better man cover corners, but he got a little bit lazy. He made a mistake, and he paid for it. And that's what a good football team does to you. And he looks at it. I know nobody feels worse than he does on that first deep ball, and I'm not picking on Darius Barnes. I mean, there's other guys that made mistakes, and the attitude is more, what do we got to do to get it straight, not it's, you know, throwing our arms up and saying it's broke or waving a white flag. It's what do we got to do to get it straight. And if that means come in and watch more film, if that means be a little bit more diligent in our technique or playing with a little bit more of an edge, then those are the things that we need to do.
You mentioned scheme early on defensively and then made adjustments in the second half. Was that Blake, this being his first kind of go-around? I know he was here last year, but as a defensive coordinator calling the plays and whatnot, was that anything to do with kind of like a learning curve? Maybe his first tough test?
Yeah, I think if you ask the question, if we went back and did it all over again, would we make adjustments earlier? Yes, you know, and that's probably some experience, you could say. I certainly can't put it all on that, but I think what the adjustments that we were able to make and some of the things that we were able to incorporate into the second half to create a little bit more confusion for them as an offense and to give our defense a little bit more confidence, I think definitely helped us. We have liked to make that adjustment at the end of the first quarter, yes, or the first series, yes, but and I think as we continue to grow with this, we'll be able to make those sooner and sooner.